Welcome in, everyone, to the Blue Demon Room podcast, where DePaul Athletics is so excited to bring you stories of its student athletes, coaches, and alumni. I'm your host, Casey Standahar, and today I am thrilled to introduce our next guest. We want to wrap up DePaul Athletics 2024 season. It's been a great year, and there's no one better to help us do that than our very own athletic director and vice president at DePaul, DeWayne Peevy. DeWayne, thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you, Casey. I've been waiting for this moment.
Yes.
I've been with my staff. I'm like, how do we have a podcast and I don't get to be a guest? So
Well,
at least
yeah.
we didn't get through the whole first calendar year before you had me on.
We wanted to save the best for last. We wanted to help you kind of recap everything that's happened this year because it's been such a successful, exciting year, and we wanted to just talk to you all about it.
Okay, I'm ready.
So this is your fourth year at DePaul. You were hired in August of 2020. You did spend some time at the University of Kentucky before, but what do you remember most about your first couple months here? I mean, it was COVID time, so it was a different time.
That was interesting. First, keep in mind, back in 2020, the Big East canceled all fall sports. So there wasn't anything going on activity-wise. The university was all remote. The only people around were some student athletes, the athletic trainers, maybe the sports performance coaches. Some of the coaches were around, but we weren't playing any games or really even practicing some of the things. And so it was very unique. Probably the most unique thing for me, I was actually finishing up the second year of my MBA. I was doing the executive MBA program at Kentucky and the University of Louisville. So I was actually in school while I was trying to be an athletic director at DePaul. So it actually helped that we didn't have a lot of things going on schedule-wise. But I do remember that. But I used that time to kind of really get to know. Thad Dorn was the head of our development at the time, and I would have 6 to 8 Zooms scheduled a day.
Wow.
Meeting people virtually. We had alumni, supporters, trustees, doing some meetings with my different staff, and so it was kind of unique. But you never would have time to do that at any other point.
Sure.
But it really allowed me. By the time we got around to summer, and I met my senior leadership team for the first time in person, that I kind of people at least knew me or had heard my story. I was pretty programmed at that point, like being on camera. I can't imagine you doing this all the time because you had to be on for like 6 to 8 hours, and you had to give everybody that first impression experience and tell your life story in a short period of time. But it really allowed me to get around campus in 6 to 8 months to get to know everyone virtually before I met them in person.
Love that. And it's changed a lot since then. And you talk about some firsts. Women's volleyball specifically has been a success story this season. A couple firsts for them. It's the furthest they've ever gone in the postseason. They also hosted the first 3 rounds of the NIVC at McGrath-Phillips Arena. What is it like for you to witness a team that gets to experience a lot of firsts in a season, and what goes into putting a tournament on like that?
It's kind of the tone we set in our first kickoff meeting as we start our season, that Tuesday before school starts. We really set a tone this year that it's going to be different. We've been through the first 3 years of our 5-year strategic plan. We're now supposed to start seeing results, right? All of our 10 head coaches, our 15 sports, have been given incremental growth in some areas. Obviously, the facility capital needs, but operating-wise, staffing in place. We have some semblance of retention going on, so we're ready to see some success, and it was good to see that. To see, both men and women's soccer take a step forward, both making the Big East tournament for the first time since I've been here. And for volleyball to not only get back to something like the Big East tournament, be successful there and win to where it's almost expected, and then to be able to go into postseason and take another step further than they have the year before.
Right.
So not only have they all done it collectively for the first time, in my time, I have never seen all 3 have a step forward in success, which really kind of gets our winter going in the right direction headed into the end of this calendar year.
Speaking of the right direction, you hired a new head basketball coach in March. You hire a new softball coach in August. A lot of your job is hiring coaches. So what are some of the things that you look for when you're hiring and trying to change the trajectory of DePaul athletics?
Well, I feel like our 10 head coaches are the most normal group of people on earth, and I've seen a lot of them on your show, and you've getting to know a lot of them. And so you're trying to protect that. You're not trying to bring somebody in and stir it up. You can get success a lot of different ways, but I'm very protective of this group, right? I want someone that understands what it means to be at DePaul, the culture that we have built, because there's a lot of really good things that were in place before me that we're trying to maintain while adding a lot of different assets. But really, I just want really good people. I really value three things. I want people with work ethic, people that feel like they can be great teammates, want to work with other people, but also people with passion, right? Because you're going to have to work through some things. You're going to have to fight a little bit. And I know we're not the little school under the L anymore, but we still have that blue grit where you're going to have, we know we got to fight for what we're going to get. And I want people to add to that. And I think what Chris and Liz have both done, they're definitely very competitive. I could see them both. If I had to put them in like a pickleball tournament or something, they might kill each other. But it was interesting seeing them both together at our holiday party discussing some of these things. I've got two of the same piece in a pod that just happen to be in different sports, but they're both attacking the things we need to be successful here. We're both in very tradition-rich sports at DePaul in our basketball and softball programs, but they're not resting on those laurels of where we were last year, being maybe one of the worst seasons in school history in both. Feeling like we can turn those things around very quickly and be back in the NCAA tournament here pretty soon.
Love that. Continued success for them as well. You grew up playing sports. Were there certain coach qualities, things that you saw in coaches that you had that stood out to you that kind of you remembered when you were looking for Coach Holtman or any of the coaches?
No one's ever asked me that question. Growing up, being a multi-sport athlete, I was big baseball. I was always the captain. So that probably was this precursor for me being an athletic director. I was a kid in the neighborhood, even before full-on high school sports. They would organize the games, make sure we have the bats and the gloves and the balls. I guess I was trying to be that my whole life.
Love it.
But I think I just really like communication. And I know that sometimes you can go hire a coach that, hey, I just need to win at all costs, and hey, I might not have a relationship. That person can just be in their corner office. Long as they win, I don't care. I really wasn't interested in that. Casey, I thought if that's what it has to be, then I'm good with doing something else. I really wanted someone that I could build this together, and I'm trying to offer that to all my coaches. I really want to get to know them on that level and not look at me as at best, maybe a parent role to you, but don't look at me as like I'm your boss where you can't talk about things. We're going to have to make decisions, yes, but we're in this together. And I've been really stressing them on, talk to me about your plans and your strategic plans. I want to be a part of it. I want to sign up for it. So when we fail, right? You don't fail. If you got your own thing going, then all I can gauge you on is your results. And let's be in this together, because that way, as this ever-changing world, we've got to move and step. And you've heard Chris talk about the note I left him about let's build this brick by brick. And he's kind of made that, a mantra for how he's building the program. And that's kind of really what I'm trying to do with them all. And so I think maybe some of those intangibles of being around coaches and kind of being that captain that wanted to have conversations and be able to talk to the coach a lot about strategies and how you're doing it, maybe that has seeped into kind of who I am as a person, because I've done a little coaching a little bit. I started coaching summer league teams. I tried to coach my son once. That was a disaster. But I do kind of like having those conversations and getting into the deeper meaning of the sport and not just be the person that doesn't just rooting for you and knowing the results. I kind of want to know how you make the sauce a little bit versus just eating it.
Well, you started off as a baseball player, and you could have went into coaching, right? But at what point in your education at Montevallo that you knew you wanted to continue pursuing this path?
I've been a sports fan my whole life. I think if I would have done it all over again, maybe I would have went into mass communications or journalism, because those were really the options because of the passion for the sports. But I was an accounting major because I love numbers. And I figured out early on that I didn't necessarily want to be a CPA. Luckily, I did all that schoolwork because it's kind of come back, because now I got to balance budgets and make miracles happen with numbers every day. But I think that love and that passion for the sports is what allows you to just push through it. Nobody got into this business for the money. I didn't even know the athletic director job existed while I was in college, let alone in high school, right? And so that's the experience I'm trying to give to my students now, is to even know what this job is, because maybe you want to work in sports. There's so many other avenues to this. I was fortunate as a student to be able to be in sports information, being a primary contact for baseball, right? Doing everything from writing stories and news media, producing media guides, being the total focus because I was at a smaller school. I tell our students now, people still want to come to me. How do you get involved in this business? I'm like, just jump in, right?
You have to
There's
just
so
start.
many schools in the
Yeah.
Chicago area that need help.
Yeah.
Do it now while you can, where you don't have to worry about others. But I think just my passion for the sports side of it, and then I started blending the two things, right? Blending the business with the sports. That's now become, like, you can major in that now. My son wants to be a sports business major. I'm like, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, we didn't have
so,
that.
So really, I think it just kind of blended the things for me because I don't like getting up in the morning like anybody else. But when I'm in my element, I'm at work, right? I'm in my role. Whether I'm at home, I'm on the road, I'm in the office, I'm doing something I'm passionate about, I love doing. The students are my why. There's been a part of my career when I was kind of on this trajectory and I failed for the first time when I didn't get the Central Florida AD job, that I kind of lost touch with why I was doing it, because you start feeling like you used to just climbing the ladder. I started at a small place, but then once I got really kind of restructured about why I was in this, it became easy, and that's when the DePaul job came open. It was my time to lead a department, lead others, give other young people an opportunity to, and we have a lot of first-time head coaches. I love that, right? Because I was a first-time AD, and I'm not afraid of that, but also we're at the mountaintop. We're in major college basketball, a major conference like the Big East Conference, and people get the chance to win championships at our level, not just play the games. And so it's a fun place to be because you can affect so many people from this seat, but you also don't have to do it by yourself. And I think there's a lot of joy in that. So I love taking road trips, seeing behind the scenes of it. It's interesting being a baseball guy that lived in the football capital of the South that became a basketball person. But
Seen it all.
Yeah, but other than that, it's been a wild ride, and we got plenty of tread left on the tires.
When you didn't get that job that you were really looking forward to and hoping for, I know you said it kind of recentered you to remember your why. Do you feel now that it's kind of all, worked out for the best?
Yeah.
I mean, leading you to this university and being here?
Yeah, I think, coming up within the SEC footprint, spending 8 years at the SEC office was kind of my big break, going from NAIA Division II to major Division I. You kind of get in this sense that it's kind of like the high school kid that goes to college because that's the 13th grade and I'm supposed to do it.
Yeah.
The football jobs became that. It wasn't my passion to a point where that's what I want. That was the reason I want to be an athletic director. Now, I love football. I'm a big college football fan now. I get to watch more college football than I ever have in my life because my Saturdays are free.
Sure.
But I never really looked at a basketball-centric job. Keep in mind, I spent, prior to DePaul, 20 years at the highest levels of basketball, being both the media director for men's basketball at the SEC and then working in Kentucky. But never really thought about a basketball job.
Sure.
Quote-unquote basketball AD job where you don't have football. And the first time I looked at it as the NABC head position came open, like the spring, kind of that COVID kind of winter, spring, and just start thinking about that. But I think that's the thing, you kind of overlook some of these jobs. But I was in the right mindset when this job came open to where like, ooh, let me kind of look at that. DePaul's got this name, Chicago, the Big East meant something to me. And I was willing to take that step where 3 years ago, I wouldn't have sniffed it.
Wow.
Because I was you had to be FBS or nothing, right? And so I think sometimes fate intervenes at that point because, maybe I would have got another opportunity. Maybe I would have been still climbing that ladder. Maybe I think I was going to make myself be successful, whatever that was, make the most of it. That's just like when I was at Montevallo running my own shop at 24 with no GAs, no full-time help. I felt like we had a hell of a department, right? We were going to make, I said it before, make miracles happen, right? That's
making the best of every opportunity, and you've done that here so far.
But I think it opened up those things, and I really enjoy this level because I can go win championships. There's nothing that I'm missing out on.
Right. You're also the vice president of the university, so you kind of have two roles here, and I know how important academics is to you. This is kind of interesting. DePaul is proud to say that 80% of the athletes have a GPA of 3.0 or higher. And recently, each of our sports programs achieved that 3.0 or higher on the fall quarter GPA. That's impressive for student athletes. They're balancing a lot. So what are some of the changes that you've implemented to make that happen, and why is that so important to you?
Well, I feel like I inherited a culture at DePaul that was very academic focused, very prominent in our community service, but we didn't have necessarily the wins on the courts and the fields to go along with that. So when we did our guiding principles, the first one was academic excellence. We had a goal of a 3.5 overall for all 15 sports being a 3.0 or above, and we were coming up short. Like, we've done it before. Like, my first fall we did in 20 and in 21, but mainly it was a lot of COVID pass fail. There's other different circumstances to it. And so to get back to that point, it really started when we had our student athlete orientation this year. I challenged our students. And I had Kate O'Brien, who oversees our academic advising, and I said, can you give me some data, some numbers, of what does it do to get from our 3.44 that we always get to that 3.5? And it was really challenging each of them, look at them dead in the eye and said, for every one of you, I just need you to turn that B to a B plus, that B minus into a B. If you got an A in something, how can you get an A plus? So everybody in the room can just do a little bit more. Right? It doesn't mean we got a totally and then that's going to lead to everybody being a 3.0 from a team. And that's going to get us to a 3.5. Now, we almost ended up at a 3.6. I think we were like 3.58, right? So now, and the fall is usually the toughest. Think about how many freshmen, how many transfers, all these new schools.
A lot of newness, yeah.
Right? And it comes at you in a hurry. Usually we do really well in the spring, and our overall kind of makes up from that. So to start off in the fall this way, hopefully we can continue that in the winter and be able to finish the full year. But I was very pleased. And I think it meant a lot to be able to go to our trustees, our leadership, and to show, hey, we can get a lot better at what we're doing on the field and the court, and the keeping score and the records. But look, we're not taking steps back academically either. And we're definitely not going to do that in the community. And so that we can still strive forward. We got to be better. We have to have stretch goals to be able to perform better. And so that was a proud moment.
I love that. It's like one can't mean a lack of the other.
Yeah.
That's awesome. During your first year in 2020 here, the new basketball practice facility was announced. So what went into that behind the scenes to kind of make that happen? And why do you feel like that space is so integral to the success of those two teams?
Kind of going back to that first fall, when I was really talking to our staff, the coaches and the student athletes that were in the program then in 2020. Like, some of them are still here because they're in their fifth year, right? And the facility needs were like the biggest overarching thing that was going to take a while to accomplish. So we started feasibility study as early as April of 21. We actually went to our board of trustees in October of 21 to start the process of what that looks like. And here we are 3 years later, and really a byproduct of alderman changes, different leadership changes, president changes, still trying to work forward and to get to a point where we actually completed phase one, at the beginning of this fall, to get to a point like we're actually in a place of something we dreamt about so long ago. To start that process it's really fulfilling. And I think for our young people and our staff that have been here, I mean, talking to staff that have been here like 5, 10, 15 years and talked about wanting to, there was some skepticism because you've seen the drawings, we've done feasibility studies before, so to see the actuality of it. And then to walk people through this building as we're trying to fundraise and understand what, just as phase one, what it has impacted our program, there's no doubt to me that it's had an impact on how we did it this fall. One, just having locker rooms for all of our student athletes for the first time in school history. Like, it doesn't have to be a nice locker room, just have a space where you can come together and get as a team, right? That's hard, especially coming off the COVID era where we got separated, got isolated. It's meant a lot because I felt like our men and women's soccer and volleyball groups are probably the closest they've ever been, right? And keep in mind, you've got transfers coming in, you've got this different makeup of rosters, so it's probably been a lot more important than maybe we even visualized back 3 years ago. But I think that's the biggest thing. So we've got some really good momentum. It's just really neat to see the actuality of what the impact it can have, and being able to culminate that with us hosting a volleyball tournament and seeing people here and the excitement in a place is something that that'll carry forward in the years to come.
Speaking of excitement, it's not just the hype surrounding the men's basketball team. It's been amazing to see their success so far. They don't have many losses. I mean,
Right.
Coach Holtman has really started to turn this program around and do what he said he was going to do. Why do you feel like the success of the men's basketball team is also a really big part of just DePaul in general?
Well, I mean, our basketball being our only revenue sport, it's such a big factor for our continued success going forward. Our university leadership, even our faculty, our staff, our students have shown, okay, all right, we're believing in your plan, DeWayne. We're going to invest in men and women's basketball because that's the front porch of this university. When we have high success, people know more about DePaul and not just know the name from this generation, but also I want to let me learn more about the school, right? If I'm a faculty member or I'm a dean of a college, sometimes I can be doing great work behind the scenes, but not enough people know what I'm doing. When we hired Chris Holtman, just the announcement alone ended up having over 3 billion impressions.
Wow.
Right? There's nothing else we can do here to get those kind of impressions for positive, right? And so if we can win at a high level, we can get back to the tournament, we can be a perennial top 25 type of team, the numbers in the data show that's a 6% increase in enrollment on average for a private school, which means tuition dollars, net tuition revenue that shows our growth of our university. We were 25,000 strong in enrollment in our heyday for basketball, and we're still the largest Catholic school in the country. A lot of people know about DePaul because of what the basketball did in the 70s and the 80s, right? Even up to the 2000s. So we've got to get back to doing our part because the investment, we have to have a return, right? And so I'm taking my MBA, I'm fresh off of it, I'm going and I'm talking to the trustees and I'm not assuming they know anything. This is why we have athletics. This is why we're in the Big East Conference. This is what investment in athletics can do for this entire university. Now it's time to start showing some return so they know it's willing to invest more because this isn't enough. I don't want to be just in the mix. We want to be one of those teams. I think we have a chance to have championship quality here. And if we can be very good on that level in men's basketball, we can win across all sports.
Love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we have to have some of those internally increased revenues too. We can't just be trying to fundraise for everything or the Big East Conference or just from our university. We have to, raise our internal revenues too. And I think that can feed all our programs. And that's the good thing about it, especially in this new era that's going forward. We can be really good. This is the time. We have the most upside of probably anybody in the country, in my opinion.
Wow.
Because we haven't been able to, let's just say a Butler, right? Right now, they've had success. They've got people in their arena. Marquette, how many more people are going to fit in there? It's UConn. They've got a lot of donors. They got a lot of people. They won 2 back-to-back national championships. We still have all that upside. We still have all of Wintrust Arena to fill up. And we still have increases in merchandise and licensing and fundraising and multimedia rights, all those things that come with that success, and we can reinvest it back into all of our programs. And that's kind of our North Star. That's why we're dreaming big, and that's why I'm really excited about our future. But this is our moment. This is our time to where Chris Holtman in this start is supposed to show everybody that's investable, right? We're only going to get so far for what we have. This is not the end-all, be-all, but it's supposed to show you, imagine if we invested more,
right,
what we can get. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Did you learn that in your 12 years at Kentucky? Because you were the primary men's basketball contact in media, and you were able to witness their success in the SEC. So how does a winning culture like that really kind of impact a school overall and the staff, the students, everyone involved?
I did get to learn a lot of that through just the experience of it. My first year at Kentucky, we made the NIT for the first time in 17 years. So it wasn't like I walked in, it was just ready-made. We made a coaching change my second year. We hired John Calipari, an established, experienced coach, and we didn't assume we knew everything. And that's kind of the approach I took with coaches, like, okay, let us work through this experience together. I've got experiences on one side, you've got another one. All right, let's put our heads together and figure out how we grow this brick by brick. And I think seeing that, knowing how important it is, how you treat your student athletes across the board, being at a program like Kentucky where everything matters, it's an everything school, great basketball tradition, trying to have football growth in the SEC, but everything matters. I think about the national champions that were won in my time. time there kind of shows the proof of that. And that's kind of what I'm trying to build here, that everything can matter. I don't have the football piece from the revenue side, but I also don't have it from the expense side, right? So I can pour the time and the effort into every sport. I can spend a lot of time. When I first got here, the way we did sport administrators were maybe 2 or 3 people, including myself, were administrators for the sport. I kind of spread it out among other people because I wanted my 10 head coaches to have a lot of time and attention equally. And then I'm equally to all of them. I didn't want to be the sport administrator for men and women's basketball because I want to be able to give as much time as I can to everybody. Sure. But I think those pieces have shown me that you can be successful in everything. People matter. Invest in your people. They can make the difference. You know, if we have a chance for capital improvements, great. But we can really invest back in these student athletes. So I've spent a lot of time into how we train, how we treat them. A lot of money's in the academics, mental health, DEI, nutrition, sports performance, sports medicine. We spend a bunch of our dollars in those spaces because it's going to make these young men and women great facilitators for DePaul and advocates for us going forward. Yeah. What they give us while they're here, it's creating the best 4 years of their lives. And hopefully they have the next best 40 for them. And I think it's a unique opportunity, and you're seeing it turn. You're seeing it turn. And even the ones that have left that didn't necessarily benefit from some of the things we have right now, they see that they were a part of making that happen.
Right.
And so, but I do think that was instilled in me, watching that and seeing that growth at Kentucky, because I saw it at Kentucky when I was at the SEC, and I saw it when I came there in the middle of some of the growth, and to get it to this whole other level, I know that we can do that here.
How does it make you feel just personally seeing the support from fans, from parents, from everyone coming out to Wintrust or to just any of the sports here, seeing that support grow over time? How does that make you feel?
I'm more, if I had to describe myself, I would probably call myself a gatherer. I kind of like being around people. I mean, I still got so-called fans even at Kentucky in my old job, and I wasn't AD because I would be the person that wants to go out there and engage with others and talk to people. And so I love seeing that growth and meeting new people. We're in a full-on friend-raising mode right now, right? We need more friends, right? I know there are people that love DePaul. I know people that are frustrated about DePaul. I need those people on board. I need you at our game. Support these young people, right? It's not even about the dollars. Just your presence means so much more. Yeah. We'll win, but help us get over the hump, you know? We need more people at our women's basketball games to support those young women.
The atmosphere matters.
Right. I mean, and it makes a difference. And when we go on the road and we're playing in these packed houses on the road, and you expect us to win some of those games and then come home and the crowds are neutral, it's not enough. We've got to be able to invest in it. We've got to help them get over the hump. But I think part of that is just kind of growing, just, you know, grinding out grassroots, meeting people where they are, letting them understand and being very truthful about who we are and where we've been and where we're trying to go. The great thing I love about this area of the country is that people are really proud and want to be part of something bigger, and getting people to come together to invest in something. And, you know, I've invited people out like this one on me, you know, just come to the game, and people, you know, the atmosphere and, you know, being at the games, they really love it and want to come back. But, you know, we want to be Chicago's team again, right? Across the board. Yeah. And I think from our university, really being on this platform where they're trying to grow too, and we're just that spoke on the wheel that's trying to help them lead there. It's kind of a fun time to be here at DePaul and in Chicago. But I do love the people. That's the biggest thing that's been something I didn't see coming into it, because, like I said, it started in COVID. Nobody was around, right? But, like, that's been the most impressive thing about how you can really move people and people will be excited about it. I didn't realize how bad it had been, honestly, and to be able to rectify that and give people hope. But what I would tell people today is you've got to enjoy the path. Don't beat yourself up over trying to forecast where we're going to be, and you've got to enjoy the moments. The
projection will just
I did that
eat
myself.
At you.
I learned from it. Like we beat Xavier a couple years back to get 3-5 in the league. I was concentrated, how do we get to 5-5, right? We haven't won a Big East regular season conference game since then, and I didn't even enjoy a top 10 win. I've learned my lesson. Don't do the same. Enjoy the moments, right? Enjoy being competitive, being engaged with a chance to win every game, right? The results are the results. You can't control it. We don't make any jump shots. I damn sure don't make any assists, right? But enjoy those moments. Don't get yourself all beat up and nervous and where you can't even enjoy it when we win. Yeah. I was at Kentucky and went to 4 out of 5 Final Fours. And it took the last one for me to really enjoy the season because you put so much pressure on yourselves. And keep in mind, we were expected to win that you don't even get to enjoy when you win. It's just a relief.
Yes.
So don't put yourself there.
Yeah.
When we go to these games on the road or we post these big home games, enjoy the moment that we're back in it again to a point where this is a big game.
Sure.
Because we haven't had those in a while. And then let those guys play free. And if we win, hey, celebrate like no other because you deserve it. And if we come up short, hey, we fought and we'll get you next time. Because if you go in there with those expectations of like, we have to win this game, this is the end of the world, and we win, it's just relief. And you don't even get the joy to balance the downtimes.
Yeah, it's just like a sigh.
And so that's what I've learned in this short period of time is that enjoy the path.
I love that.
Because that's not promised to everybody. Everybody doesn't give a chance to where they feel like they have a fighting chance to compete. And we haven't been there in a while. So enjoy that. And hey, and if you win, it's even more fun, right? Celebrate, get rings, buy T-shirts, do whatever you need to do.
Buy ugly Christmas
but
sweaters.
Definitely don't ruin, don't steal your own joy.
Sure.
By just being sick to your stomach before these big games and then, we just won, right? Enjoy it.
Wanting to keep people in the present, obviously a big deal, but you do have the school's Dream Big strategic plan.
Right.
And you said part of that goal is to give DePaul's team the resources to make it to the NCAA Big East tournaments, to make it even further. From this fall season with volleyball, men's and women's soccer, both making it to the postseason, how have those dedicated resources and the upgrades that we just talked about played a huge factor in that?
I think kind of from the same thought process, giving hope that, the floor is making postseason now, right? That's no longer our goal. Like, that's not the thing we look forward to, right? So if I look at those 3 fall programs, all right, you've been there, done that. We should all be thinking about how do we get to winning the Big East or being an at-large NCAA team.
Yeah.
Those are our goals. And when you get to the point when we're where we're supposed to be, the floor at DePaul will be making it in postseason, right? Where you're in a room and the 2 people that didn't, people are looking at you, what's going on. That's how it is academically. You feel that pressure and the greatest thing I love about here, the kids in our program, they actually have academic meetings and they're like, hey, we got to get this together. We want a 3.8 this year or 3.9 or 3.7. I'm like, I've never heard of this kind of stuff. But when you have that kind of culture and it bleeds into what you want to be competitively, when you're student-led, then you get to have those kind of successes where we'll get to these things that are far-reaching for us right now will become the things that we expect every year, and then we're talking about how much we're advancing.
Yeah.
That's the next step for us. So we've got some teams that trying to get to the Big East. The next level is being in the NCAA tournament, and then after that, you want that to be your new floor, is everybody makes postseason. We're only talking about 10 head coaches here, right? But if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, that's creating that new floor where we're talking about the successes. I want to be a top 100 overall program with only 15 sports, right? Which makes it a big challenge, which means everybody has to be getting the NCAAs to get there.
You signed a contract extension through 2027 with DePaul. Where do you see DePaul athletics in the next 3 years?
Well, I hope we're in a brand new basketball practice facility that opens in the fall of 26. Definitely back into the NCAA tournament in both men and women's basketball and softball, where we belong, or teams that have to be. And really being one of the leaders in the Big East Conference across the board from a standpoint. I want one of those Big East commissioner trophies where we're the best department across the Big East. Those are the goals. And I think by the 26-27 season, we can get there, right? The goal for me is to be able to have another contract extension and another 5-year strategic plan that's really showing like new heights and places that we never dreamed we could go, right? Just bringing those dreams to a reality.
Yeah.
Those are what the goals are going forward.
I love that. DeWayne, thank you so much for being here. We enjoyed having you on. We're glad we finally got to do this episode. Everyone, that was DeWayne Peevy, DePaul Athletic Director and Vice President. We'll see you next time on the Blue Demon Room podcast.